Disclaimer: the following video is an uncut version of one that was previously uploaded in separate parts to accommodate YouTube's 15-minute limit for non-verified users. With the video being old, there may be some statements which I don't stand by or regret making. Please keep that information in mind. And as usual, this video contains content which is unsuitable for a young audience, and please do not harass any users I mention here. With that done, roll it. Hello viewers, Butch Vig here, and I have some pretty big news which may bum out or hype up some of you. The second part of the Old Days retrospective has been delayed until late into this year. This is mostly because this is likely to become a tedious project, and I want to space out the two parts to leave the suspense open. Then again, only a handful of people even saw that 30-minute beginning half. And because it's summertime, I want to at least work on more crap unlike previous years, though it really isn't turning out so well already. Technical problems or YouTube bullshit won't stop me this year, hopefully. And because I've been dabbling a lot in the art medium, as you can see here, I feel like it's a good time to create another DeviantART Artist Review special. This one is definitely going to be longer than the previous, so I hope you all stay comfy. Our spotlight begins on Mockitunes, or Enhanced Tune according to this birthday widget, or Alec M. I'll stick with the Alec name from then on, but whenever I think of that name, I think of, well, less than stellar people. But I'm no alchemist, and I'll give this guy a fair shot. His work primarily applies to the anthro or furry type. And because some people are straight up ignorant, I have to make it aware that those terrible furries are just a vocal minority. Compare that with something like Fortnite, in which the worst parts in it are the majority. I've seen his art frequently pop up in some of my followers as favorites, and you know what? I don't really like his art that much. For major starters, his work looks all basic and, shall we say, clip art-esque? It only gets worse when roughly half of his original characters are pretty much just slightly modified versions of the same character. This has me believing he uses a base to create his own characters with, which is not a good sign. His main OC, Fane the Fox, seems to be a mesh of two pre-existing characters, which you can find a lot of fan art for in his favorites. Tails the Fox from Sonic the Hedgehog, and Furball from Tiny Toons. I mean, there's nothing wrong with inspiration. Look, I'd be a total hypocrite if I said these two weren't heavily inspired by Plucky and Daffy Duck and Yoshi respectively. But when next to all of your characters look alike, it seems uninspired and lazy. I'm not knocking the idea of simplicity either, as I've seen artists like Blue Bottle Flyer make some good stuff with his minimal style. Granted, I don't really enjoy everything he makes, but it's at least a worthy comparison on how slightly samey art can work. If this were all I had to say, I would give this gallery a 4.5 out of 10 and be done. But the bio, in my opinion, actually lowers the score to a significant degree. Right below his art banner, whose background looks like a blurred toilet bowl, we get his rules. It lists off bad comments which include spam, racist, and GIF posts, which doesn't sound like a bad first impression, but the second one is where it gets me.
You are free to draw my original characters and or fan characters, but do not draw them with ugly, butt, nipple, nudity, and other gross stuff.
Shitty grammar aside, I don't get all of this. You don't want disgusting art out of your characters, and that's all fine. But the fact you're going to instant block over what is pretty much an inevitability is slightly jarring. Feel free to defend your image, it's best you do. Discouraging some actual dedicated fans might not be the greatest idea, however.
Hey, do not ponify my characters.
Well, at least you're against the extreme ponification of everything, which really doesn't exist anymore unless you search deep. Characters in Cuphead are the next thing you should take care of.
4. Do not post chain letters.
Alright, but no need for all the areas you shouldn't do it in. The profile one says enough.
6. No transformation sequence on my characters.
No anime!
8. Never recreate June, month of rage, or threat, or else you will be blocked forever and add to whole live antagonists and make hate art out of you.
We've really gotten that low, folks. Bear in mind, people, you may be following someone who is actively hunting people down for making recreations of those two series. And about that, what the hell are those series? And whole of antagonists? Isn't this your stupid-ass euphemism for user labels on YouTube? Good God, that isn't very inviting. Oh, and there's one more facet that I feel is worth noting. I found some commissioned piece from Cosmic Doodle which probably connects to Alec himself.
Blue Bluxy is a black whore.
This was commissioned by Enhanced Star, whose profile picture and name to an extent lead to his current profile. This account was likely banned at some point, as deactivated accounts typically would not have their profile pics intact for over a week, unless this was through a termination. His comment also mentions something about hearts, which leads to his main DeviantArt group, Crazy Heartthrob. The commission itself might also lead into those two aforementioned series which he desperately wants not to be seen again, as searching up the character Blue Bloxy doesn't give you any results. I was able to find one related, though it's of a Shadow Bloxy instead. Overall, as an artist, Alec is very generic and mediocre, and on his bio, he tends to act a wee bit pissed off. For that, this gallery deserves a strong 3 out of 10, bordering a 3.5 out of 10 for me. Jeez, we're not starting off this episode too well. But glad we will be taking a look at some better artists this time around. How about we begin with Ed Tropowicz, somebody who's been on DeviantArt for a decade. Again, kind of another furry artist, but this one is way more versatile than Alec ever will be. Stylistically, it's a mix of somewhat realistic and very cartoonish. Kind of like Dirk Eric Scholl's, aka Themrock. Another artist you should really check out. The warmer color palette gives almost every piece a summer or autumn feeling, and I love it. His two common original characters, Schooly and Shelly, retain a charm to them which you don't find crazy often on here, even if their designs are the slightest bit on the derivative side. However, I need to bring up the elephants in the room which are bound to get on the nerves of a couple biased group viewers. You see, this artist is very reliant on Sonic fan art, especially in his early years. But to my defense, it's nowhere near as trashy as some anti-furries would like it to believe. Shit, I have a pretty noticeable bias for the Sonic series. No thanks to his terrible fandom. And yeah, I like some of Ed's fan art of this series. But wait, there's one other aspect which may distaste about half of you. The nudity. Now, I can't deny this kind of thing shows up a little too much, somewhat less subtly than others. But again, here's my 2 cents. Most of it is at least tongue-in-cheek, or tasteful if you refer to his own bio. Naughty bits are typically censored, comedically might I add. Those that might not be are listed under mature content anyways, so meh. I don't feel those factors detriment his artistic integrity, even if it does make his gallery fall into a certain niche. If you consider some of what he does to be your wank material, I'm not gonna judge. But for the love of God, don't talk about it publicly. For the artist, I'm giving them an 8.5 out of 10. Would have been a 9 if there was a bit less in regards to the nudity, but if that's what he wants to do, that's okay. We now segue into Mixopolis channel, a much newer artist to DeviantArt. As of me writing the script, he's been on this site for only 2 months. Despite this, he has uploaded 50 plus pages of deviations already. Unsurprisingly, this is one of those quantity over quality artists, and we all know how bad those can be. His specialty, if you can call it that, seems to be having characters, most of which from object shows, dress up or cosplay as other characters. I originally thought this was a Mixels account from the username, though that kind of thing still fits here. The artwork itself definitely ranges in quality. Pretty certain that a lot of them are traced or slightly modified stolen creations. And when he does it all himself, it's obvious he's using MS Paint. Amateurishly. Yet, even with his oversaturation and basic as all hell artwork, he somehow appeared in my favorites on occasion. Yeah, you heard me. What to me equates to extreme mediocrity as a couple pieces I consider to be guilty pleasures. I am aware that this stuff is very basic and a little ugly, yet there's still enough I like about it. Unlike some artists, it's usually his cuter stuff that I tend to like most. Next to everything else just doesn't have me feeling anything. This gem though is a total masterpiece. Regardless, I see that next to all of his stuff is on a white background that has a lot of unused space. This was a problem which did pertain to most of my own digital art also. Still, I don't remotely hate the gallery whatsoever. I'll be generous and give this guy a 4 out of 10, and that's partly due to his recent presence. Though the fact I consider him better than Mockitunes is pretty sad. Thankfully for you guys, I'd say Mockitunes is the landslide worse. Next up is Soul Domino, and once again I don't have too much to say. Way less, actually. This person definitely has talent, and I feel would be a good part of the cartoon industry. However, his work is a tad on the samey side, and very reliant on fan art. Maybe a couple of these folders seem off-putting. Everything seems pretty standard so far, but I suppose there will be some trust in the dark. Oh my fucking god! What the hell? So, yeah. Apparently, this artist didn't quite have the standards to deny someone named Evil Jelly's request. That name doesn't sound enticing even remotely. And I would like to inform you there is another one of these on his gallery posted around the same time. Funnily enough, Evil Jelly commissioned him something else that was much more tasteful. I guess an OC for Cuphead. I'm at least proud Evil Jelly isn't only doing inflation weirdness, but ugh. Sorry, Soul, but you're losing a point for that. However, I should consider that you probably disowned that particular commission, or your standards have been heightened. After all, I haven't seen anything like that come after. Other than that unappealing sludge. His gallery is at least worth checking out. You're bound to find at least some fan art you like. 6.5 out of 10 is my overall rating. We shall return to the show by covering this guy, Tony Yorkie Silly 1991.
I draw art because it's fun.
How not to make a DA phrase. Not only is this username a mouthful, but it reminds me of somebody else. That may be coincidental, so I'll take a peep at his bio. Likes, Pound Puppies, Tiny Toons, YouTube Poop, One Piece. Okay, this cannot be a coincidence. And yeah, he and Straw Hat Pirate 1991 are the same person. You can trust me because he directly contacted me about it. He's also watching me on DeviantArt, but I've never seen him favor comment on my work. It's pretty sad now actually, given I've been uploading there a little more. On the plus side, he does have some pretty great favorite artists and buddies. Once again, he's another furry artist. To be brutally honest, I was actually predicting the opposite out of him. You know, with the Sonic bias he had. I'll quit dragging this on for infinity, but I really wanted to keep on doing so because his art is just putrid and hard to look at. Too many vibrant colors and crude line work. It's jarring how much better the trades are by comparison. And it makes his bio look like a sketchy Android bootleg game from India minus the stock images. If you really want to see where he gets the most wrong, look no further than his character sheets. Whenever he does one for somebody else's character, I presume he resorts to tracing. See all the ugly white lines in this example. His own typically don't have this setback as apparent, but it still doesn't make the sheets look any good. There's just so much clutter, most of which could very well be placed in the description rather than on the art. The color palette, way too small. If you're resorting to using one of these wretched references, you would practically need to zoom in on the exact pixel on the eyedropper. And that leads to another problem, the acceptable for 1997 resolution. Making it a PNG is only one step to ensure better quality. And going back to how ugly these sheets look, some of his gradients look so tacky and disgusting. I'd rather enter that misshapen void. For someone who is 27, yeah, you heard me, most of the basics should at least be second nature after 5 goddamn years. I should also mention the journals and statuses. You get some truly riveting reads, like this.
When I tried to microwave a bowl of macaroni and cheese, I forgot to add water to the mac and cheese, so the house was filled with smoke and I had to toss the burnt mac and cheese into the garbage can outside while airing out the entire house. Word of advice, never forget to add water before microwaving your mac and cheese.
Yay. I think you did more wrong than not putting water in your mac and cheese. Don't do this! Autistic journals aside, I was really expecting more maturity out of the person who repressed against demand children. The irony about it is that he's possibly maybe saying this stuff to protect his own insecurities. The mac and cheese fuck up is practically the epitome of that. Then there's his commissions. He gotta pay those bills somehow, and I guess those are his main income source. To begin with, he offers adopt commissions for only 50 DA points. Single character drawings are also fairly cheap at only 30 points, plus 10 if they want an extra character. It seems a little too cheap to be quite honest. This stuff absolutely won't pay the rent. Wait, there's one more kind he takes. Character reference sheets. Interesting. How much do they cost? Oh my lord, what? 700 DA points? We've gone from insanity cheap to why the fuck should I spend 750 DA points on the eyesores that are his character sheets? Of course, you could also donate him some DA points as well. This also mentions a missing item on the commission prices, saying it costs 400 points for a colored sketch. I have no clue if it's a DA limit, but why advertise the cheapest and most expensive right next to each other? You would think it'd be more sensible to organize the pictures from cheapest to most expensive. I have no clue if these prices are unfair. I'm not in the commission business after all. But come on, that stark of a difference for what is essentially still going to be mediocre artwork is insulting. It's technically speaking robbing people out of their hard-earned cash. And I haven't even started talking about his foot fetish, but because I don't want to kink shame, I'll just say the following. This man puts emphasis on the feet for a lot of his characters. This kind of stuff crops up in droves on his favorites, and he has a separate account he uses to upload his own. And for the sake of keeping my dwindling sanity intact, I won't say anything more. 3 out of 10. Hope you get it out of that child's body you seem to want to stay in. Reconsider your commission prices too. Only 2 more artists to go, and we return to the realms of good again. Vladimir. Jeez, I keep coming across nothing but furry artists. Are those the only people that still use the site? I must remember though, we've seen many good ones before, and this one is no exception. Vlad's style is much blockier, but still very exaggerated. Eat your heart out, Mockitunes. It is also a little closer to anime than some of the others, and not the realistic type. Oh, and Mixels. Sorry, Mixopolis, but Vlad is more fine-tuned to that style than you are. Very bright shading and outlines make many of his pieces pop out well. I really should have mentioned this with a few others, but there's also a few basic animations to be found. Nothing spectacular, though nothing too trendy or annoying. Eat your heart out, Jaden quote-unquote animations. I looked further though, and he did follow up on a couple bandwagons. This piece in particular is just bloody and human. Really, you could be much more sinful when approaching fan art for a popular franchise. When next to any popular thing, you'll get some great fan art out there. This person is someone I can recommend looking up, but here's one thing. At this moment in time, he is taking a hiatus from either this site or art in general. The Rejuvenate 39 journal explains why. Once again, many good artists don't have all too much to say, and most of my critiques are really just nitpicking. This guy gets a 7.5 out of 10. And now, the grand finale. Obviously, we're not expecting a good ending. Introducing to you, Eric Makrishek. He's also gone under the names MGHS Hour, Emmy Loves Potato Chips, and on DeviantArt, Molly Hale is my friend. You might want to rethink that alias of yours. There's a long backstory behind him which I won't go too deep into, but I'll give you the basics. In 2004, yes, that long ago, he was an active member on that one logo site that seems to be struggling at the moment, the Closing Logos group. Eric sent mostly fake entries to the wiki, which had been turned down and deleted, but his rampage would only escalate when he transitioned to YouTube. This happened multiple times, just so you know. Most of the content you see on his DeviantArt account isn't a far shot away from his video material. As a result, I find it almost as bad, if not only because of the stupid scenarios next to everything he makes contains. We're sort of heading back to Richard Hibbert territory, but even more disturbing, with a dash of MTM Productions to increase the blah feeling. And I will give Hibbert this, he's attempted drawing before. Almost completely traced, but it's a start. I have yet to see any original postings from this particular person. I am planning an in-depth analysis in advance, because there's too much to go around for just one video. In the meantime, take a look at Junior Fan and Class X's rants on the subject. But back to the stuff in question. Shall I begin with how many stolen fake logo idents he's been hoarding? All he does is plaster an image of one of his favorite kid characters over a low-resolution still frame of the logo. I can do this shit too, you know. Wait a second, I did not make that one. Speaking of the kids, they're inescapable. It's mostly just the same characters recycled, such as Emmy and Max from Dragon Tales, Jason from the Care Bears movie, Molly Cunningham from Tailspin, and Penny from Sylvanian Families. I think now's the time I bring up his age. 37 fucking years old! 37! That is some Stranger Danger level shit. Kids, stay as far away from this person as you can. I've heard him say that he's had relationships with very young children. I don't want to outright call him a pedophile, but ew! This type of behavior is unacceptable. Anyway, you'll see them expressing their favorite things, more often than necessary. For Emmy, it's potato chips and other junk food. For Max, his PlayStation, and sitting down? Oh, what? For Penny, sitting on the floor of cars, and Molly Cunningham just walking across the street alone. If only I had this guy's creativity. I should really talk about his love for kids sitting on the floor of cars. I see that he likes cars, and I don't remotely ridicule him for that. Look, I draw them all the time. But of all the things, the floor is the thing that interests you the most? The area where all the trash and cigar odor gets trapped in? Easily one of the least sanitary areas in the car which isn't of a key component. And worse yet, you keep on having them reminiscing of that. Wait, is that a Sterling? You really are the master of resurrecting failures. There's way more down this deep rabbit hole. Now's the time to reuse the good old formula of commenting on the memes. Oh, I'm sorry. Pasties. Well, like the thing that... Oh, screw it. We're not going that far. Otherwise, let's look at these lovely things. But before we do, let's peep at his body language challenges. Challenges in redonkulous-sized air quotes. They're just shitty Mad Libs pretty much already filled out. My favorite of these being, Molly Hale is XQ... Wait, let me fix that a bit. Executed. There. Good old double post you got there.
A group of pill pushers! Welcome to Mario Party!
Here we have the polar opposite of the grounded video. It's so encouraged that Caillou chimes in. When you got Caillou's stamp of approval, you're in great hands. The text here describes what I think to such a level that I almost think this is self-aware. Go home, Billy Mitchell. Meet our next cheating video game champ. Why dodge Neon? Order this special shopping channel only package from your local cable provider. Oh, and don't wink at me. You and Penny seem to just beg for it to be Halloween every day. And I know why. It gives you an excuse to hang around kids. You creepy-ass goblin.
Why, yes, check out the coveted Star Share Farm Market. It looks even better from behind.
Superb stolen imagery. I hope you enjoy our bumpy, cramped, openly visible, but otherwise very transportable dining experience at the Chevy Love Cafe.
I feel like having my inevitable death come sooner at an obscure convenience store.
Psst. Jason, go to House Toy Barn. They're trustworthy.
Penny, I hope you enjoy the stereotypical British food, complete with critical battery ketchup.
All the while, I stare at you creepily whilst you chow down. And my absolute favorite, he faves his own deviations. You get it now? Actually, my second favorite. This one is my true number one. I now know that this nation wasn't founded to repress against British rule and being independent, but rather to enjoy all the game shows they please, such as Bargain Hunters. It was the best thing since the shopping mall. You bet your ass it was. These may seem like terrible troll pics, but they're not even close to that. They're as sincere as they get. And how about his statuses in journals? There's definitely highlights there. He breathes the American dream, and is very proud of what he makes. He also assures me that everything is rated G, and that his content doesn't have drugs, alcohol, or other drugs. Yes, I wasn't aware. He probably is quite stoned in reality, though. You must abide by his rules as well. My personal favorite being,
I do not, have not, will not, stress not, tide not, steal pot, ink blot, and cannot make any drawing pics for DeviantArt. Do not ask me for them at all. Anyone who asks me for DeviantArt drawing pics will be blocked immediately. No questions asked.
okay, so you're throwing the establishment, shall I say, by refusing to draw things from hand. Copy paste and stuff are the only true way to go. Not only this, but he wants to know exactly what you do. Where do you buy your Oreos? What? Oreos are hard to find? Since when, in any universe, are they hard to attain? Okay, we're about done for now, but before I go, there's this soul critique he left behind on a set of arcane pins. Arcane? Arcane? Be ready for one of the best critiques ever conjured to man. And to those coffee pasta people, you can kindly fuck off.
Cool, this is the best art I've ever seen. I love it. This is the best art of all. You are the best artist I ever met, and I love the art you made, ever make, and will ever make. You should make more of this. I love your art that you ever made, ever make, and will ever make, and I think you are the best artist of all. You are a great anime fan also, and I think anime is the best. I love anime too, and I think that anime should be a part of everyone's life. You are cool.
1 out of 4 people found this fair. I absolutely wonder. I think it's easy to tell what my overall rating is. -10 out of 10. There is no hope for you, sadly. And staying stuck in your childhood is where you'd rather stay. No good. This really was only a sample of what you can find online about him. Thank you all for watching the second special of DeviantArt profile reviews. Also, if you like my illustrations showed here, you can find most of them on my Twitter at BN37Studios, or check out my DeviantArt account. Both will be linked below as per usual. And one more special announcement. I've been considering doing music reviews, particularly of obscure artists no one really mentions. Here's a list of a few of the potential targets, albums, and oddities I may discuss. If you are interested at all in this, tell me so in the comments. Anyways, Brachyneutron out. Friggin' chocolate ketchup?